Body Experts, along with my colleague Kevin the Machine Weiss, and we're talking diet strategy. This Coach 'em Up, I guess you could consider this a part two. Coach, I want to talk to you a little bit about calorie spikes. This is foreign probably to people who aren't part of the Able Bodies machine, but for people who are, they know what we mean by calorie spikes. But to give the viewers an idea, here we were a few months back, 3 days away from a guest posing appearance that you had, and we went out for dinner, and I remember you having Fred Flintstone, Brontosaurus prime rib, and 2 loaves of bread. I think you had 2 appetizers, you had the potato loaded, 2 desserts we both had, and you were 3 days from guest posing, where most people would be panicked about even being near food like that, and here you were 3 days before an appearance on stage where people are taking your picture and whatnot, having what we call a spike meal. You want to let people in on how that works and how you went about that?
Yeah, and not only was that a guest post 3 days later, but I also had the Natural Universe 2 weeks after that.
Yes, so you were competing were competing in 2.5 weeks as well. So that's right close to contest, and here you are with cheesecake and prime rib and bread and butter, and that's not supposed to work. How do you make it work?
Well, that's all part of the plan, and anybody that's watched your Cycle Diet DVD has a little bit more insight into that, but that's part of the plan where the calories that you're taking in on a regular basis are obviously nowhere near that. And somebody that would look at that and say, well, the way that he's eating there, that obviously can't work. Well, it does work because it's in a whole context of a plan. About the calories are set at a certain level, and you follow that, and then when your body gets to that point, I don't want to get long-winded on that point, but it gets to a point where that type of a spike is going to be a huge benefit and not a detriment.
So calorie spiking works in the right metabolic environment is what you're saying.
Absolutely.
Right metabolic context. Now, you yourself, getting ready for a show, how do you know not to be biting your nails, that it's okay to go out for dinner with a friend that close to 3 days from a guest posing, 2 weeks from a contest? How do you know when it's time to refeed that way?
Well, I guess it just comes from experience. Like, I've been doing this, I've been competing for over 25 years now, and
but do you go by the weight scale?
I see.
Do you go by what's going on?
No, the weight scale really has nothing to do with it, although it can be a factor. Like, after when you're getting to that point where you're low and you're ready for a refeed, obviously your weight is going to be down because your glycogen is certainly depleted and stuff like that. So the scale is a tool that you can use, but it really comes down to reading your body's biofeedback. The intensity in the gym starts to suffer. You get that feeling of just overall general lethargy, if you want to call it that, and
so lack of energy,
sleep starts to suffer,
strength deprivation in the gym, and the mirror, of course.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You look in the mirror, and you cannot. And I've seen people get screwed up by that too, because they'll look in the mirror, and you actually tend to get looking softer because the muscles are less deflated. So then people start freaking out and thinking
they cut their calories
more.
Yeah,
exactly. So they're going the wrong way, where they should be spiking, or have somebody like you or me looking at them and telling them when to spike.
Right.
They're going the opposite way, and they start freaking out, doing more cardio, cutting the calories further.
That seems to be a woman thing or a bad trainer thing. But on the other side of that coin, though, is people who think mentally they need a spike because they want one.
Because they're hungry.
Yes. and they're nowhere near ready, so they're not using the mirror, they're not using their biofeedback, and they're just sort of in want of a meal. And that's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, and that's what I say all the time to people too, is it's not about your spike meals or cheat meals, if you want to call them that, although I don't consider them cheat meals. If they're part of the plan, you're not cheating, right?
True.
But the leaner you are, the more your body can use these things and needs to use these things. If you're
it keeps your metabolism jacked.
Yeah, if you're 15, 20 pounds away from your contest weight, guess what? You probably don't need a spike meal.
You've had a lot of spike meals, and that's why you're 15 pounds.
Exactly, but you start getting down into where you're actually near competition shape. When I'm right within a month of competition shape, I'm usually pretty much right around the weight I'm going to be. I can take a spike meal of anything I want every 3 days with no bad repercussions.
So we're talking diet strategy here for those interested in how you get ripped and how you stay ripped. And this has been a special Coach 'em Up session with the Able Body Experts.